Welcome back to the Gold Room podcast. I'm Andrew Zafer from Black Diamond Drilling, and today I'm joined by John Argiropoulos from Edge Drilling. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for having me on board.
Good to have you here. You're now the holder of the longest surname podcast attendee we've had, so well done on that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's taken nearly 60 years to get that name, so I think we're doing a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
Being that you're my actual cousin, and you brought me on this show to talk about who I am and what I do. So thank you very much, Andrew.
Good to have you here. Now, we always start with the life and times, and tell us a bit about your upbringing. Obviously, you've got a Greek background, and what did that look for young John growing up back in the day?
In North Perth?
Perth, all the Greeks.
Okay, I was born in Perth, obviously. I've got two other sisters and a brother, the youngest of the family. Did my primary school at Kyalla Primary, got kicked out of there, went to high school, got kicked out of there too. No, I wasn't kicked out anywhere, but I did my time at Mount Lawley High School, where I learnt quite a bit. I had a lot of friends. It was mostly an ethnic area, North Perth in them days. There was a lot of Greeks, Macedonians, Italians especially. So I got to learn a lot of different languages. Most of the time it was not probably the right language to talk as well. Went on from high school, then I attended an apprenticeship in mechanical fitting. So the people at the railways, which used to be West Rail in the old days, showing my age now, of course, they took me on as an apprentice mechanical fitter. So I was there for like 4 years of my life. I had a really good, strong upbringing in the fitting world. I know these days with fitting it's a lot different. It's generally break and change. But in the back in my day, we used to repair everything. So we went as far back as making your own tools out of scrap metal that they gave us, or old files that they annealed and turned into a. For many things, we made up dividers, set squares, calipers. We've made torque wrenches ourselves and got them calibrated. Made our own toolboxes. We're in this, the first year of my apprenticeship, I was in a school for apprentices. There's about 30 of us in each school. The year I started, they had 200 apprentices start with us, all different faucets, all the way from blacksmith, silversmith, coppersmith, right through to pattern moulding, electricians, coach builders, diesel fitters, mechanical fitters and turners, you name it. Every trade was covered basically. I mean, a lot of those trades have now forgone themselves, lost in the world. But the memory of making things for myself out of scrap bits of steel and that still linger in my head. We spent a whole year filing. Weren't allowed to use any machinery, or were given to make these tools was a file and a hacksaw. When there's no grinders allowed, no power saws, no battery-powered options or anything like this. It was just hands-on, and you made these tools. Some of these tools were, I still have them actually, in the toolboxes back in at Edge Drilling, just as a reminder of where I've come from. And did my apprenticeship there. Met a lot of friends there. Still have friends from them days. Right up to right now. I'm actually going away shortly on a holiday. One of my good friends from the railways. We're going to Japan in about a week's time.
When you're at school, did you have an inclination that you get into a hands-on role, or was it just something were you doing that on weekends, or were you mucking around, or was it just something you fell into?
I originally wanted to be a plumber, believe it or not. Them days, plumbing was hard to get into. You really had to know somebody that was a plumber. I mean, Perth was pretty small then, and the jobs were a little bit more scarce back in the early 80s. But decided to take up the mechanical fitting job at the railways, and I was happy I was. I was offered the electrical fitting job because I scored very highly on an aptitude test in electrics, but I turned that down, and probably, in hindsight, I probably would have taken that up. Would have been a lot more simpler job to do, but in certain ways, but less getting dirty basically with the mechanical fitting, where they had us all doing all types of things, crawling under trains and carriages that were, sometimes they were hitting sheep on the road, on the train tracks, so you'd be under there cleaning off the sheep gizzards and all that. So it was a bit of a messy job, and that obviously, as an apprentice, the tradesman always puts you in the wrong position just to show you who's boss, basically. And if you weren't following the right train of thought, then it was a swift kick up the backside or a flick around the ear, or in some cases they used to. There's a lot of things that used to go on in the railways there, but one of the things that reminds you of what it was like to be an apprentice was if you sort of bug it up a few times, and they grab you. And one particular chap, they got him and they held him down, obviously, and filled his undies with grease through a pneumatic grease gun. So he was laughing, so it was all good, and no harm there. But there was grease everywhere, literally, and the grease was a graphite grease, which sticks to you. Like, it's very hard to get rid of. You got to scrub really hard to get off. So there's always little things going on. They tell the apprentices to go and get a left-hand screwdriver, a key to the combustion chamber, go get some striped paint, which I fell for, out of the stores, or another classic out of the stores. The stores it's a very, them days was 3,000 people and basically quite a few sheds at Midland, and it was very communal. Everything was set up, like the stores were right inside the middle of the workshops, and you go there to get a particular spanner and all the rest of it. And one chap went up there, and the tradesman told him to get a storeman's punch. So he went up there and asked for a storeman's punch, and the chap was very behind a cage type of thing. And the storeman said, "Excuse me, I can't hear you. Speak up, come closer." So he got him a bit closer. He goes, "I want the storeman's punch." He goes, "I can't hear you. Come a bit closer." He got him really close, and obviously give him a smack after that. So he fell for that one. So there's always fun and games. Look, we work for basically 40 hours a day there, 5 days a week. Sorry, 40 hours a day. But out of the 40 hours, I think we did about 8 hours of real good learning. The other 32 hours is, you come to work Monday, speak to your mates, what you do on the weekend, on Tuesday. Wednesday was probably the work day. Thursday, Friday, you're talking about what you're going to do on the weekend. And like I said, it's a government institution, basically. You come in the door, you weren't known by name, you had a number. My number was 355, a brass tag. You walk in the door, picked up your tag, you went to your position, hung up your tag, and then your sub-form would know you were at work, and that's how you got paid. So it was a bit like prison, I guess, in a way. Lunchtime we're allowed to go out, but any other time that we're locked in. Gates closed, you're at your workplace, and you stay there. So
institutional by the sound.
Very institutional. I mean, it was so institutional. There's another story I can tell you about this. If anybody's out there listening worked at the railways, you'll understand when I talk about 8 minutes. So what 8 minutes means is in the Railway Institute, up on the board there, the rules and regulations of the railways, 19 whatever, sometime, and there was 8 minutes in there. And what the 8 minutes meant was you're only allowed 8 minutes in the toilet. That was it. So how did they police it? Well, the toilets were around about 40 cubicles long in a separate building, and there used to be a person that used to sit in there all day, every day of his life.
Wow.
Behind a glass cabinet with a hole in it. So you go up there, you tell him your number, and he'd give you 4 pieces of waxy toilet paper. That's it, 4 pieces. So whatever you can do with that, you do with that. So you can never ask for any more. That was it, and then you left after the toilet. But 8 minutes, so you used to time you, and if you stayed any longer, then you got reported to your sub-foreman. So,
Pardon the pun, but what a shit of a job.
What a shit of a job. That poor bugger had to stay in there all day, 8 hours for the toilet. So, hey, there was a lot of things that used to go on in the railways. But on the positive sides, we learnt awful lot, how to actually perform and work and what to look for, repairing things. And the tradesmen were very good, exceptional. And some of the machinery in there, they were massive. There were some big machines there, lathe cutters and all that, big lathes and mills. They hadn't been started. I was there for 4 years. I never saw them start once. But back during the war, they used to make armaments there, which means obviously make shells and all that type of stuff for the war. So they had some very large machines there. They could build anything they wanted, actually. They were very good.
Very skillful.
Very skillful there. They could build anything they wanted to, but the government only wanted to do railway stuff. So some of the older machines there would have been, I think there's one there that's, I think 1904, it got landed in Perth, in Fremantle. They actually there's a story about it. They dropped the machine on the wharf and cracked it. They put it into service. The day I left, which is 1983, it was still operational. So crack or no crack, the machine kept working. So it used to just trim up the wheels or the tyres, they call them, on the locos and all that. That's its whole job. So he's been there for over 100 years and still on this job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Outside of work, have you got a specific sport or hobby or something? You're a leader today, and I find that sport often shapes people to become good leaders. Is there something that you were doing, a hobby that you had outside of work that kept you pretty level?
Yeah, look, I was heavily into AFL, always have been. I love it. I started probably, when they never had Auskick in them days, but under 8s, under 9s, playing for a team called Northern Suburbs, which used to be in the North Perth area. We used to be part of the West Perth district, which in the old days, West Perth was Leederville.
The Garlic Munchers.
The Garlic Munchers, correct. The Cardies and all the rest of it. So being ethnic, I guess I fitted in straight away. But we had a really diverse range of people there, from ethnics to Australians to Indigenous people playing there. They were really good players. We made friends with a lot of kids there. I still catch up with a couple of people from the old days. So we won a couple of premierships or finals there, grand finals. I was captain for 2 of them, lost one, won one, under 16s, played at Leederville. One of the bigger highlights of my career as a little kid, under 11s, running on the field at halftime, Little League, they used to call it. Get your Guernsey on. The Guernseys are all woolen, so they scratch the hell out of you. And the boots were like, proper hard boots. There wasn't like, I need an extra size shoe, bit wider, none of that. No padding.
The big screw-in studs.
Big screw-in studs. You could feel the screws and the whole lot. It was all there, made by a cobbler. Hard work. The boots would have lasted 500 years.
Yeah. Provided
solid.
Your feet could still fit.
Yeah. So that's exactly how it was. But we ran out in the field at Leederville there. I did it twice. Had a great time, and it was probably one of the first times I've ever had a hot dog and a Coke after the game. It's like, I've hit the big league.
What a recipe.
Straight up, hit the big league. Hot dog and a can of Coke. So that was a good thing. So I had a really good, happy childhood that way. Like I said, Kialla Primary, Mount Royal High School. Everything was close to me, close to the city. So buses were there if we wanted to go somewhere. Used to fly a lot of kites when I was a kid at the park near us, or play a bit of cricket over the summer period. But AFL, yeah.
Who's your team?
Right now, well, always has been St Kilda.
St Kilda?
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Yes. I like the underdog, and that's where I go from. People have asked me over many years, why aren't you going for the Eagles? Why don't you go for the Dockers? Because you live in Western Australia, and all the rest of it. But at the end of the day, in the VFL, I supported the Saints, so I thought I wasn't going to change. Obviously, I still have a soft spot for West Australian teams, but my team is the Saints.
Yep, that's good. Stick with them.
Well, yeah, that's what you've got to do.
That's
I've
right.
had a lot of, like my best friend, he's a Richmond supporter. Then he went off Richmond and started following the Eagles a lot. And then over the last, obviously after won a few grand finals, he's moved back to Richmond.
Back to the Tigers.
Back to the Tigers, so he's a proud Tiger supporter now. But look, just follow what you think's best and support your team.
Yeah,
that's right. Whether they're up or down, just keep going because it's the game. And I regularly go to watch a game. And look, I'll support if the Saints are playing the Eagles or the Dockers, and there's good play and a good goal. I don't care who kicks it.
Yeah,
I clap them on.
Footy. Yeah.
I clap them all on because I think it's the game. We should be watching the game, not individual players or anything like that. Well, how the team won, great. But somebody does a great play, great goal, great kick, great hand pass or mark, they've got to be rewarded. The crowd has to back them up because they've done something great. Doesn't matter what team you come from.
There's too much critique these days as well.
Well, it's changed a lot. From my days, it was full forward, sat in the full forward. They didn't get out of that square. They just sit there and the pluggers of the world just sat there.
All the big Gary Abletts.
All those chaps. They all just stay there. And if you look back in the 90s and 80s, the body of the AFL players was a lot more robust.
Thick set, yeah.
Robust,
yeah.
They weren't designed for speed. They were designed to clobber and catch balls and, play it rough and get in there and kick goals. And it was, like I said, generally stay in your position unless you're a ruck or ruck rover or they changed the names again, of course. But those people, they move up and down the ground as required. But now the whole thing, if you go to a footy match, if you're up there and watching the game, generally it's like watching Auskick. They'll run down one end and then run out the
Follow
other
the
end.
ball.
So it's quite a lot of running, and they have to be super fit, 100%. So with being so super fit, I guess they lose a bit of their ability for strength in that to last after a big hard knock. So a lot of injuries come now.
They
A
do.
lot of injuries.
Their bodies aren't hardened. I think they're athletes that are taught how to kick and mark, aren't they now, as opposed to being a footballer that they can get fit.
But the game's changed a lot, and changed for the better. I think it's a lot faster, a lot faster. So it's a good thing, and it was always entertaining to watch. Now it's even more entertaining to watch. I'm not sure about the umpire's decision still, but hey, you got to live with that one, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. Now, little birdie tells me you in the America's Cup era in Western Australia, you worked in a bottle shop, retail bottle shop. Tell us about that.
Yeah, okay. So after I finished my apprenticeship, I worked I went to New Zealand and found the love of my life there, of course, Julianne. And
Lovely lady.
Yep, lovely lady. And working as a fitter there, working in repairing and manufacturing elevators, basically. So I got out of that, came back to Perth, got a job working in a liquor shop in Northbridge, Lake Street, liquor library. Had about a year there, had some really good times. This is the time when America's Cup was coming to Australia, and it was just a big buzz. So I went and did a barman's course, and it was run at I don't think the pub's there anymore, but it used to be North Beach Hotel. And it cost us $5, and there was just a group of 20 kids just turned up, want to be a barman, ready for the big America's Cup that's coming to Perth, Western Australia. Because Fremantle in them days was just like, you'd only go there for your sailor or a crim, right?
Well, I grew up down that way.
Well, it doesn't matter. As a crim, as I said, Andrew, as a
Probably why I
crim.
was there.
But did this course, $5 every, I think it lasted, I don't know, 6 weeks. And you learnt champagne, sherries, pouring a beer, basically. The night we were practicing pouring jugs, I think we blew about 70 jugs down the drain, just straight out. Nobody was drinking them.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we tried our best. We all got pissed and smashed every time we had the go for the barman's course. We were making cocktails or pouring beers or champagnes or whatever it was, ports. We'd get to drink it, and you drink as much as you can, of course, for $5. Hey, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Cheap
actually,
days.
yeah. So 70 jugs straight down the bin, down the drain. So it's fun.
So post that, MTP?
Yep. After that, got back into fitting. Went to a company called Malcolm Thompson Pumps. They're still existing today. Where I was second in charge there as a pump fitter. 2IC as well in the office. I got to understand all types of pumps, whether it's a slurry pump, it's a submersible pump, it's a high pressure piston pump, it's a mono pump, it's a peristotic pump. There's lots of different pumps out there. Worked on a lot of them. I'd say probably all of them. They had a NADA accredited testing station there, so I learned about that. So I learned about quality then, and that was back in the 80s. And quality was a big thing. The pumps had to perform to a certain specification. So once that was done, then it was achieved, then it was put it back out in the field. I met a lot of people, a lot of drillers then, coming in to bring their pumps in for repairs and things like that. So that's when my life sort of changed. I thought to myself, well, I was about 30-ish, and I thought, what am I going to do? Can I sit here in this workshop and just keep repairing pumps, or shall I have a crack at my own business? So I originally thought of starting my own fitting business, but that would have taken millions of dollars in a large area to bring equipment in and all the rest of it. So I thought, I'll give this drilling a go. Can't be that hard.
So that was your precursor to...
Yeah, precursor coming. It can't be too hard, buy a machine, away we go. So I started originally with an old cable tool, and I still got that cable tool at the front of my warehouse in Wangara. It's still wrecked there. That served me for many, many years. It gave us a lot of insight in drilling, because it's a very slow process of drilling, like it's old school before, it's been around thousands of years basically. Cable up and down, bash the ground, advance the casing any means possible, whether you rotate it or bash that in the ground as well. Advance the casing, pull out the material from the inside the casing, get rid of that, keep going, bash down, keep going back and forth. So I put it to the people that don't know, you would have seen in America or in Australia for that matter, the old donkeys they use for extracting oil. So it was similar to that. So the cable up and down, and you get your penetration. It's very slow. The good part about it is you know your stratas, exactly where the water is, exactly the content of the ground. You can work out the aquifer, how much water it's going to produce, the whole lot. So it's a good, slow, very, very slow way of drilling a bore. But there's tens of thousands of bores in Western Australia that are done this way. A lot of the windmills in the bush and that for the farmers were done this way before the rotary mechanism came along. And that started with Gemco. I guess it was one of the big West Australian companies that went out there, George Moss and Co. They used to work out at Leederville. They used to build a very basic machine. The original ones is like a 210B, they called them, A, B, C, D. They were basically based off a V-dub engine, that mechanically drive through their gearbox, so you got 4 speeds in reverse, so you can break out rods, going through a 9-inch Ford diff that's cut in half.
Right.
So that's as basic as it got. So anybody could operate it basically. Mostly used for augers as well. So the farmers could go out, drill their holes, do a bit of this, bit of that with it. There was thousands of those made. So after the cable tool slogging it, I went to the mechanical side
Moved
of
up,
it.
yeah.
Moved up a little bit. Still semi-automatic. Like I said, you use to stop the rods was the clutch. So you just pull the lever and clutch, pull in and out. Very simple V-dub engines. There's no oil filters on them. There's no fuel filters on them. Just change your oil on them. There's nothing much to go with them.
So are you self-taught? Were you self-taught with all that, or did you have someone teaching you the ropes?
Okay, so I was self-taught to a stage, but I also had a mentor, and his name's Peter Petrucci from Petrucci Drilling. He showed me a lot of tricks of the trade, I suppose.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive and going, yeah.
In touch
Obviously,
with him, or?
stopped drilling. He lives in Pickering Brook. Take my hats off to the man. If there's a drama, he's always on the phone to come around, see what I was doing. I was going watching him. He had a large tractor rig, and he's drilled tens of thousands of bores in Western Australia. So I got my rotary mud experience from Peter. So of course you get different as you meet people along the way in your journey of drilling. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. So you try and filter out what you think is correct and what's not right, and try and go for the right stuff. So there's things I still explain to the personnel on site. If we are drilling a water bore, if the water table is very high, you install your casing. You've got a lot of mud down in the hole where you had to hold the ground back because it's very runny or whatever. You've got to be really careful about developing the bores, because it's like a cork that you push underwater. If you remove all the water from the casing's got nowhere to go but up. And I've seen it before. The casing doesn't matter how deep it is. It could be 100 metres plus whatever. That'll come flying out of the ground because you're changing the hydrostatic pressure. So you've got to let the mud disappear, break it down, flush it out, and let the water start coming in, and then she comes out. So yeah,
wow.
it's almost like water well drilling's slowly. People are moving, not away from them, but it's generally old boys doing it. Generally because they still like doing it. I still like doing water bores, but to try and teach new people now, they're sort of moving on a little bit more. I'd rather do diamond or sonic or a bit of air drilling. It's faster, it's quicker. People
don't have the patience necessarily anymore.
Because with rotary mud, you drill a hole, great, but then you got to put something inside it and make sure the hole stays open. You don't have any collars, and it's all good. So there is an art to it, and you got to make sure it's right. There's no point drilling the hole to 500 metres and then you can't put a pipe in it and get water out of it. You're wasting your time. Yeah. And the client doesn't get very happy with you either.
No, it's all about the client too, isn't it?
It's all about the client.
Now, was that the birth of edge drilling back then, or?
Originally it started as Atlantis drilling. We were doing domestic bores in Perth, Atlantis, and then we swapped over to... so I went from Atlantis drilling and moved straight on to Enviro Drill, a partnership with that. It lasted 3 years. We started getting into geotechnical drilling and environmental drilling, and introduced me to diamond drilling. We started originally with conventional drilling, which is one rod down, pull it all out, pump it out, one rod down, pull it all out, up, down, up, down, up, down. That we quickly got sick of that, moved straight on to wireline. And from there we just carried on and started doing work in the northwest and that. So most of our work was in the northwest, drilling holes up there. Some really great results in the early days, and then the partnership dissolved, and then we started as edge drilling. So we carried on the good works in the geotech and the environmental drilling. The other partner moved away and back into the. He was happy with air, drilling with air, so a lot of hammer work he was doing, RAB and RC work. So he moved back into that field, and we pursued edge drilling into the environmental geotech side of it. That got us up to 2020. No, before that, sorry. So 2014, I was always interested in sonic drilling. Real big interest in it. I went to New Zealand with a company called 101 Solutions. Took us across to show us the people that were using sonic, because it was all pretty new to me then. All these fantastic results, and I'm thinking, that's impossible. How are they getting these results? 100% recovery in sand and all this type of stuff. So I went to Christchurch, and it was probably about a year after the big earthquake they had there, which is 2014, I think. And went and saw these rigs. This chap bought one across from the Netherlands. It was so popular with him. He bought the first rig from Indonesia. It was going so well, he ordered a new rig from the Netherlands, and they actually flew that rig straight across from the Netherlands to New Zealand on one of those big Russian aeroplanes, Antonov aeroplanes, in the hold of that. Now, this is 2014. It cost them $165,000 to get it delivered to New Zealand air freight. So he was that popular with it, and obviously he's made a lot of money out of it. So that's Probe Drill over there in New Zealand, and it's still going today. And they've got quite a few sonic rigs as well. They found the answer was sonic. Being Christchurch, I don't know if you've been to New Zealand.
I have.
Okay, Christchurch is basically a glacial fill. So from the mountains, it all runs down and lands in Christchurch, right? So you'll get cobbles, you get sand, you get silt, you'll get, you name it, clays, all there. Very hard to drill. So after the earthquake, what they're doing is drilling each individual home. Obviously, the houses that were moved and that, they were gone. But for insurance purposes, every house had to get drilled. So these chaps were drilling 3 houses a day, 15 metres deep, with a thing called SPT sampling, which is a specific penetration test. That was invented in 1907 in America, straight after the big earthquake in San Francisco. So basically, a certain weight is dropped over a certain distance. It gives you a blows in the ground of this sampler, and they can work out how strong the ground is from that. So they went over there. I watched them drill holes, and they were achieving 1.5 metres in 4 seconds.
Did that surprise you?
Absolutely, blew me out of my head, just fucking exploded. And they pulled it out, and they pumped out the sample, and it was 100%. 100%. I just
thought I need to get involved with this.
This is what I need to get involved with in 2014. Obviously, the prices were pretty high. I think in that stage, the mining industry was having a bit of a lull.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so we backed out of it. We didn't go ahead with it. We just kept on the low plane until the year 2020. We decided to buy a sonic rig, our first sonic rig. Bought our first sonic rig from Port Longyear. Mark Swedinsky looked after us there and pushed us along, and that rig arrived the 1st of January 2020.
Just before COVID.
Unbeknown to us, COVID turned up.
Pandemic, yeah.
But we bought it on a whim and a prayer, because we had we'd been promised some work, and that's all it was, a promise from Telfer. New Cresta would have been them days. Come out with this sonic rig. We've got this brand new idea. We're going to drill in our waste dump, which, if you know waste dumps, they're very hard to drill. Everything, all waste is thrown in there, from everything to everything. We had tyres and bits of metal down there and everything. It's just
That'd be horrible.
Yeah, it's all horrible stuff, but there's still gold in it. Right, so their idea was to drill holes, put in casings, slotted casings, and re-inject the fluid down the bottom or up above, wherever they thought that there might be more gold, because currently they just use sprinklers on top. And I guess the nature of the dump is everything's dumped there, so it's not really compacted properly. So there could be a fissure or a crack going one way, and the gold's the other way, and all your liquids are going down the wrong path and getting recirculated, where you're missing out, somewhere maybe a metre across it. The gold is there, so the idea was to pressurise it too. It wasn't just like gently pump it. It was a high pressure injection of the liquid in through the waste rock and getting more gold out of it. So we were there for about 16 months. None of the boys had any sonic experience besides the chap that came from Port Longyear telling us about the machine. And the first thing he said to us is, "Well, where are you going to run it?" I said, "I've got a mate's farm up in Wanneroo, Market Garden."
Give it a crack.
Yeah, mark the gun, give it a crack up there. And he goes, sand? I go, yeah, sand. He goes, ooh, that's one of the toughest things you're going to drill, Sonic.
Even better.
I said, oh, well, we'll see how we go. I've got a lot of experience in sand, right? I've drilled in Perth enough years to know that sand is sand, and let's see how it goes. So little bit of a change in bits and pieces. Sonic drilling is generally done, it is done dry, 100%. The sample's done dry. But a casing is generally, if you can, put it over dry, but a casing is generally washed over the top to protect the sample. So you are getting exactly what you're getting down there, millimetre for millimetre. So I threw my experience into it. We literally added a little bit of polymer muds to the system, and the holes come out fantastic after that. So from that, felt very confident. We moved on to that. After that period, 15, 16 months, we decided to buy another Sonic rig. This time we changed our tune and went to Argiropoulos, which is a Netherlands-based company. It's a sort of a hybrid. Half the machine comes from Frasty, which is an Italian company, and the Sonic part of it comes from Argiropoulos in the Netherlands. The advantage of those particular rigs is they spin at a high frequency. So resonance, it's all about resonance. So the way Sonic works is it basically liquefies the ground in front of it. Just like you're standing on quicksand, you're going to sink. Well, once you get the right resonance and it's happy, it starts dancing, doing its right thing, then you move. So again, 4 seconds for 1.5 metres. I think the best we got in the waste rock, and don't forget this is terrible ground we're drilling in, 3 metres in 10 seconds. So it's pretty quick that way to get your sample. And I said 100% earlier on. It's not quite. I'd say probably 98. I feel comfortable with 98%, which is as good as 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we've had many occasions with the Sonic. We've taken it up to Oski Roadhouse up there in the northwest there on the deltas out there. We had conventional drilling out there, HQ3, trying to get shallow bores, 20%, 15% recovery, very poor recovery. Basically, the ground there's rocks, sort of like a jumble of rocks with powdered dirt between it. So we said, look, we'll come up with this little Sonic rig and we'll give it a crack. And they go, well, I don't know about that. So look, it's free. We won't even charge you. Just bring it up there. See how you go. We spent 2 days. The first hole with the conventional, I think, like I said, they're only very shallow holes, but I think we blew 2 barrels in 6 metres with diamond, complete barrels gone. And it took us 2 days to get the 6 metres with poor recovery. We went up there with a Sonic, with this little baby Sonic rig. We completed 2 holes to 12 metres with 98%.
Yeah.
And the engineers are asking us, that can't be coming from the ground. So it's just go and dip the hole and have a look for yourself to make sure in your head that you know what you're talking about. So they were very impressed.
So with Sonic being such a specialised drilling technique, do you find that you get lots of inquiry?
Oh, we get a lot of inquiries.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's mainly used around tailings because obviously as tailings as they are, the dams, you don't want somebody up there blasting a hole down through the wall. You're starting to affect the integrity of the wall, or using fluids. So Sonic is the preferred method on all those tailings dams. And as you know, there's thousands of them, right? Just in West Australia.
Everywhere.
Thousands.
Everywhere.
Thousands. And, the government's got just recently in LinkedIn, another dam failure, right? So it's happening all over the world, these dam failures. So the government in Australia is thinking, well, we better do something about this. So there is a mandate. They go out there and the miners must comply. They must have the VWPs and their vibrating wire piezo's or monitoring balls, or get a CPT rig out there to test the integrity of this wall and what's in the sumps, basically, to make sure it's all good. It's going to last 100 years before it maybe breaks down. So we do a lot of work with the tier 1 companies, going back out there and using Sonic and getting full results. And the engineers can work out, it's safe, or we need to batter up one side, or do what they've got to do engineers-wise. We're not engineers. We just give samples for people.
That's what you've got to do.
That's all we've got to do. Just take the sample, give it to the engineers. They can work it all out. That's why they paid the big bucks.
That's right.
And put the old, on the block, chop on the block.
The
so
figs.
yeah. So the Sonic works really well. Really, really well.
What percentage of your business would be with Edge and then with Sonic drilling?
Well, like I said, Edge was probably obviously 100% up to 2020. and literally now edge is probably, I don't know, 5 to 10% of conventional.
Yep.
Most of our work is, probably less than that, a bit more than that, probably 20% edge. We've got more than 60% sonic, and the rest is what we call CPT. So CPT is cone penetration testing, and we just started that business 2022.
And that's a different rig altogether?
Totally different animal altogether. So it can take samples, but generally it's an electronic piece of equipment it's a bar that you push in the ground with a special cone on it, and it gives you a reading through a computer and tells you where the moisture is, what the density of the material is. There's so many tests you can do, and it's above my pay grade. Terry Lewis, our CPT guru, he's the man to talk to, but I never want to engage too much because it's all just
above your head.
It's above my head. You say, that's nice. You had a great day. That's good to hear.
You
mate.
Just pay the bills now.
Yeah,
do you?
yeah. You got all this stuff. That's great, mate. Thanks very much.
Cheers, bud.
That sounds like you're doing a good job, Terry. Keep going. We've got 3 of those rigs now, and they are very hot demand because they are the quickest thing to get out to check these dams with. They're very fast. They penetrate. They can't penetrate hard rock, of course. They penetrate the soft stuff, but they do it at a rate. They can do a 25-metre hole in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And gives all the data details. Nothing rotates, just purely pushing the ground. So you can imagine hit something hard, it'll stop. The rigs have got go up to 20 tonnes pushing and 30-odd tonnes retract. So nothing rotates as such, but there's a whole pile of tools that go down that hole, and they do vein check shears and seismic testing, and there's a lot of things. They actually can sample down there as well with a thin wall sampler that we send down the hole, and it's like a vacuum sucker, basically. Push it down and vacuum up, and the product goes inside the tube, and then the engineers take it away, get tested.
Sure.
Sampled, yeah.
How many staff have you got now? How many people do you employ?
Just over 40 now.
Wow.
Yeah, blew my mind.
Yeah.
Coming from a husband and wife family team.
Family business.
Yeah, family business. I've had my sons work for us. It's been great. I had my nephews work for us in the early days. They were doing the old wells and that was always fun. Always having a good laugh with the family, and now we've moved on to we were running it for so long, and then just last year we basically getting a bit old, the old story, and we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We've decided to we need a general manager. So who better to come along was Andrew Chandler. Mm-hmm. Andrew Chandler's had a lot of experience as general manager. He's worked at Eastern Well, Pentium Hydro, and now he works with us. So he's steering the ship as such, and I got to tell you, it's just chalk and cheese. He brings a lot of great information to us, things we were always trying to do but couldn't achieve it.
Industry information?
For industry, yeah. Yeah, no, look, policy procedures, compliance, it's all there. It's all in his head. He knows how it should be run as a company, and he's worked in large companies. Now he's working with the smaller companies, so it gets a bit more hands-on for him, so he can mould it. So in his hands, I feel very confident. So confident we're going on holidays again.
Very good. Can you tell me a bit about gold and TSFs?
Glad you asked, Andrew. It's a big thing with Sonic. There's obviously a lot of gold in the tailing facilities that have been left over, or the wrong button's been pushed over its time, the life of the mine. Some of that gold has gone across and been washed straight out, basically. So with the Sonic, again, there's no water or air used, so it's just a pure sample. We come down there and we take samples down to the bottom of the TSF, return them back to the client. He'll test them for gold availability, and then in some cases, in quite a few cases, they will mine the TSFs again and put it through the machine. So it's easy gold, easy money gold. So great news.
And why let it go to waste?
Why let it go? Well, it is waste already, so go back and collect it. And it's just a simple way of just drilling a few holes in it, find your levels, and dig back to that level and put it back through the machine, get some more gold.
Now, the next 12 months, obviously you mentioned that you and Julianne are doing some holidaying. You've got Andrew on board as your GM. But bigger than that, or how does the next 12 months look for the business?
We're still looking at expanding. Andrew's pushing us in the right way and in the right direction. So with this compliance that he's bringing on board with us, we feel very comfortable going to even larger T1 players and being right out there with the forefront in sonic drilling and CPT. So our future is pretty bright in the next 12 months. Whether it's obviously more rigs, more people. We are I call ourselves the premier sonic people in Australia, because that's what we are.
And I guess sometimes you can look at the business from the outside in as well, if you're not caught up in the day-to-day running as well.
Well, the old saying is work on the business, not in the business.
Correct.
That's right. So I'm still there. I still, much to my wife's, she's there as well. We'll be, we're slowly trying to get back out a bit, but we obviously want to make sure everything's happy and people are moving along, which we're in a pretty happy spot now. So I still like the drilling side of it. That's the problem. My wife is a theatre nurse, so she just came along for the ride. She's been doing all the paperwork and all the billing and all the, chasing people and paying
Time sheets and
all that. So now she's well out of that. We've got accounts people, we've got HSC people that does all that. We've got operations managers and right throughout the team. That's rigs come in. We've got a maintenance fitter coming in. We're growing and still growing. So the future for us is still Sonic and CPT now. We have 6 Sonic rigs in Australia, probably the largest supplier of Sonic rigs in Australia. We've got premium drillers, and I mean like
the best of the best.
God-spoken drillers in the Sonic game. And what they do is they teach the people coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, that succession's so crucial.
You have to have that because I can't just put a diamond hammer drill on this machine. You destroy it. I can show you plenty of pipes and that these machines will just go straight through steel without even blinking.
Do the young fellas that are learning that technique from the experienced guys, do they realise how lucky they are? I mean, I think that's a great opportunity to go to a whole new drilling technique, which is still really in its infancy, particularly in Australia. And I mean, they should be, in my opinion, they should be really grateful that they're learning something that's really new.
Yeah, look, it's what they call a niche market as such right now, but I can see it getting bigger and bigger. Look, it's anywhere where there's tough drilling, where you got your paleos, you got your overburden that everything's failing on, you can't get your sample, or you got to try and drill it and case it or cement it off or get out of that terrible zone that you want to. The Sonic kills it, 100%. It loves it. It's got disadvantages to Sonic. Obviously, it's not a silver bullet. If it gets really hard, then we're lucky with these particular Echo Camp rigs, so they're dual-headed, a bit like Tasmanian. But dual-headed, straight onto rotary. We can go straight over to diamond by a flick of a button. Head goes across, start diamond drilling, and carry on through the hard rock. So they're a very, very good practical multi-purpose rig. People are scared of Sonic because they don't know. So that's my advantage because we still got plenty of work going on, you know what I mean? And you'd have to be committed to Sonic to do what we're doing now. You can't say, I'll just have one rig and I'll use it when I need to use it. You'll end up with a broken rig and broken pipes.
You're all in or you're all out.
You're all in or you're all out because if you're not all in, you're wasting your time.
If there was customer inquiry that they wanted to get in touch with you guys, what's their best way of going about that?
Oh, look, ring the office. It all goes back to the same way, or email us at edgedrilling.com.au, or go through sonicdrill.com.au or cptdrill.com.au. All of those emails will get back to us. Websites will get back to us. And just to chat or send us a scope through, we're happy to help out. Especially, a lot of the work lately, it's been at, drop the name, but Roy Hill, they've looked after us. And we're actually working on a hydrological setup there with Sonic.
Right.
Because they were using a lot of DR rigs, dual rotary rigs. Now, these are large rigs, right? They command 100 by 100 square metre pad, right, for drilling, with a 75 metre pool to capture all the water coming out, right? A big sump, massive sump. And they were only installing, because the rigs were there basically, they keep using them, only installing a 50 millimetre piezo. So you've got and the smallest I go to is about 8 inch, 200 mil diameter. So the amount of gravel that goes down there, the amount of cost for the machine that goes out there per day, the cost of the cementing and all that, it just goes out through the roof.
Astronomical.
Astronomical for small little pipe. So they called us in there. The job got done in, less than half the time. Our pads are probably, 25 by 25 maybe, sometimes less. Sometimes they're, 15 by 25, they're pretty small. Our sumps are, 3 by 4 metres, maybe, if we're lucky. We have also invested in mud puppies now. We've got a couple of them out in the field, and the sumps are not used anymore. We're recirculating everything, cuts back on the mud, cuts back on the water. So it's all environmental stuff. So on speaking environmental, we are looking for electrification, like that's probably the hallelujah moment for a lot of people. Andrew Forrest is pushing the point at FMG. It is achievable. It's still, we're getting there. I've asked our suppliers, our equal camps, multiple times, I need an electric rig. For the last 2 years, I've been questioning the facts. So they're onto it. I said I want to be the first person in the world to have one. So you better make sure my name's on it. For 2 years, I've been knocking on it.
They better work for you, John.
Yep. So it's electrified, and look, there's still a long way to go, I think. But wherever we can, we always look at an electrical option. Everywhere we can, just something to get the ball rolling. So it's coming. That's the way it is. So with going into that, we have another business as well, and it's called solar vans. So all these vans out on site that people have cribs in, or accommodation and all that, always run a diesel engine, running all day, all night, just to keep the air cons cool. Because you know what, you got to sleep at night, eh?
You certainly do.
You got to eat and you got to sleep. If you can't sleep at night, like the old days, just swagging it, man, you're in for a tough job. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A lot of staff turnover. People go crazy. Number two, and your product drops away.
So you try and make the conditions as
a little bit better,
as
a little bit more better. Yeah. So these vans come with power on the roof. We've got about so far about 3, and our 4th one coming up now. Fairly new business, but we don't have any generators attached to them, so they're just battery powered with solar. So we have them in the workshop with no solar power, obviously. We charge them up to 100%, put them in the workshop. We turn on the aircon, turn on whatever you want, toasters, whatever. We let them run with the door open. They run more than 3 days with no sunlight. So they keep going. So cloudy days and that, not a problem. You get 3 days worth of love. So that's a big thing, and we always fit them with good old Eon, the old Starlink, and that makes it more pleasant, not just for the chaps to talk to their family, which is a big thing. People got to have contact these days, but any data, any video streaming. So it's always nice to, the world of today is now something that used to be when I was a kid. Like that's in the future. People like Star Trek with a beam me up, Scotty, and I think what's going on here.
We grew up with that, didn't we?
Yeah. Now it's everywhere, but now video, talking to each other. It's like
And all your plods
is
are
that
done.
new?
Your plods will be done electronically as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we go through Corplan. Fantastic.
Another Greek boy, Alex.
Yeah,
Shout out to you,
another
Alex.
Greek chap. Yeah. Taking over the world, mate.
Yeah.
We started with back in the old days, mate, building all those temples.
That's right.
Yeah.
We did it all.
Now, who's the mathematician bloke, mate? Come on.
I don't know.
Pythagoras?
Yeah, that's him. Pythagoras.
All that type of stuff, mate. Pi is a Greek word, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that we're achieving and aiming for in the world. But like I said, the video and the Elon Musk is just like, oh yeah, that's okay. But to get to that point, it's been a massive journey for mankind, really. But when you can do that, you can really interact with people and have your toolboxes and all that, and get people's interest, right, rather than something having to sleep in the back. You can see what's going on exactly.
Right. I think that's a great way for us to finish. What a journey. Thank you for coming in, John. It's been a pleasure to learn about the business, and we've sort of known each other for a few years, but just to get to know a bit more about it, it's sounds like everything's going really well, successful. You have got good staff around you, and to start from a family business to the size of it is today, it's fantastic.
No worries. Thanks very much for inviting me out here. That's my first podcast, so I hope I come across as a okay person. But we have come. It's a big journey for us from a simple little kid in shorts from Kyella Primary through to staying where we are right now, and with the manpower and the quality of drills and people that we have with us. Fantastic. Thank
Congratulations.
you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the end of another Gold Room podcast. Thanks for joining and listening in. Remember to like us and share on YouTube, LinkedIn and Instagram. Thank you.